Hello again to all subscribers and listeners of this channel. This is Why Evolution is Bullshit, Part 4, the debate, numbers 1 through 4. And you are tuned into the Obsidian Radio channel. And again I say, evolution is the hypothesis, masquerading as a theory that people believe is a fact. Hello again everyone, and we are now going into Part 4 of the series, where I shall break down the different aspects of debate revolving around evolution. One of the first things we need to look at is what is a debate and how should a debate about this topic be conducted. We shall delve into this in, again, Why Evolution is Bullshit, Part 4, the debate, numbers 1 through 4. So without any more intro, let's get into this. Number 1, how are you supposed to actually argue your point or debate this idea when it comes to debating the, value or the existence of evolution, the validity of the theory? Let's break it down. So when it comes to arguments, the two sides who are disagreeing with each other are supposed to follow certain protocols, and as far as I can see, here they are. 1A, present your opening thesis, belief, hypothesis, or idea. 1B, the other side does the same. 1C, they both then take turns pointing out flaws in the statements of their opponent or in the opponent's ideas. Flaws like inconsistencies, logical fallacies, lack of evidence, lack of information, or they come up with information that contradicts their opponent's assertions, etc. 1D. Both sides are then supposed to stay on topic, defending their own statements against the challenges by their opponent. But let us elaborate on this even more. Number 2. One side presents an argument. So they present facts, evidence, statistics, mathematics, science, etc. to back up their argument. 2A. When one or both sides presents a statement that they think to be correct, they must do what I call show and prove. They must present objects, information, concepts, all of which can be displayed and or observed in three-dimensional reality. They are able to display this in some way that we can see it, and the average person can easily see this evidence, this objective reality, pretty easily. 2B, the ones who are in the debate, they then must see flaws in their own argument and account for all of them before their opponent gets to them. AKA, you make an argument, you see some holes in your argument, you already attack those and fill in those holes before your opponent gets to try to attack your argument and try to weaken it. So you basically fortify what you're saying by basically kind of arguing against yourself before you debate your opponent on the arena. You do this, and this is very valuable because it shows that they who is having the debate has fully understood the subject matter from multiple different viewpoints, and like I said, they have made it extremely hard or harder for their opponent or anyone else to prove them wrong when it comes to analyzing what they've stated, analyzing their thesis, their assertion, their argument, etc. For this reason alone, the practice of attacking your own statements and then countering those attacks yourself is very valuable. Number 3, the other side simply challenges the arguments that's being presented. They don't need to make a counter assertion per se. They can, but they don't need to. They just need to challenge the assertions made by their opponent. 3A, many people make the mistake of trying to come up with alternatives or an alternative explanation to what their opponent has stated in the debate, when in reality this is not really necessary. The most necessary thing to do is to reinforce your assertions as true and then show that the opponent's assertions are false. For example, if someone says that Mr. Johnson stabbed someone in the store, you don't need to prove that Mr. Robinson stabbed someone. You need your opponent to prove to you in the court that Mr. Johnson stabbed someone. There's no need for an alternate explanation, although it will help in many situations. You just need to maintain Mr. Johnson's innocence. 3B. Ultimately, in the debate, the best thing that can be done to the other side is to point out as many flaws, inconsistencies, weaknesses, fallacies, etc. in their original assertion as they possibly can. To do this, they need to look at their opponent's opening assertion as meticulously as possible. They must comb through and uncover every single and any little detail that can prove their entire argument to be wrong or show that it can be wrong. This takes study, time, dedication, patience, attention to detail, etc. It takes all this to surgically dissect what they believe their opponent is saying and show that their belief is not what they believe it to be. It's not accurate. They need to be able to bring their belief to their opponent's face and show them as accurately as possible what their belief is with all the flaws blatantly obvious and visible. You've got to make them second guess their assertion, re-examine their ideas, go back and double check what they believe to be true. That's ultimately one of the things that you do in debate if you do it well. 3C. If one side accepts that they made a mistake in their assertion, then they've got to go back and re-examine the entire argument altogether. If their argument holds steady against any and all of your challenges, then their argument will appear solid and consistent among the masses of critical thinking and scientifically minded people. If the other side is able to successfully find faults in their opponent's assertions, then their analytical skills are quite good, and it encourages their opponent and anyone else who believes like them to question their beliefs and or double check what they believe to be true, which is good because that helps you gain more accurate knowledge. Of course, all of this requires people to be honest with themselves, be open to debate, and be open to the idea that their beliefs, however strongly they believe them, could be proven wrong at any moment, at any time, anywhere. This is healthy in terms of gaining more knowledge, gaining more accurate knowledge that can ultimately benefit your life and benefit the life of others. Debate is still very crucial and very valuable when it comes to the scientific method, learning, gaining knowledge, etc. Number 4, negative versus positive reality in the court of law. And I'm going to sound a little bit repetitive, but I need to make this point very clear. You cannot assert a negative reality. You can only assert a positive reality or challenge someone else's assertion of a positive reality. Let me make that clear. So, another way to look at it, or another way to put it, is you can't prove innocence. You can only prove guilt or accept innocence. Like I said, you cannot prove innocence. You can only prove guilt or accept innocence. This is another way of saying something along the line, like, for example, innocent until proven guilty. I can't say the man is definitely innocent. I can't accept that he's innocent until you prove that he's guilty by showing evidence that he did indeed commit the crime. Now, I know this is a law thing, but I'm very much convinced that you can apply this same principle to science and other things outside of the law when it comes to positive and negative realities. And when I say positive and negative realities, I'm not talking about good and bad. I'm talking about, did something happen or did something not happen? Positive reality is something occurred. Negative reality is something did not occur. Then and only then can we both accept that he is guilty only when you prove that he's guilty, after you have shown to prove that. In other words, I can't say that evolution is not a fact. Here's what I can say. I can say that it's not proven scientifically to be a fact. So unless you prove that evolution is a fact, then I can't just take it at face value that it is. And until you prove that, neither of us can accept evolution as a fact. So the burden of proof for evolution falls upon those that are convinced that evolution is indeed a real phenomenon. It's not up to me to disprove it. It's up to you to prove it if you believe in it. I accept that you might not exist based off of a lack of evidence, or I prove that you do exist because I found multitudes of evidence that ultimately prove your existence. It's one or the other. Unfortunately, in many debates, people make the mistake of either telling someone they're wrong without showing them why they're wrong, or they try too hard to prove a negative reality. The latter is not actually possible. You can't prove the lack of something. Whereas the former can be done, but it's not the most effective way to do things, and it should be avoided in public discourse. It really isn't the best way to deal with that when it comes to debating things like this. Or another way of putting it is, never try to tell them that they're wrong. It only puts them in a somewhat defensive emotional state instead of an intellectual defensive state. Instead, try this. Do your best to allow them to prove that they're right. Either they convince us the evolutionary theory is correct, or they fail to do so. Evolutionists, Darwinists, the ball's in your court. So therefore, it is up to you to show and prove. With that being said, that's all for now. Please like, subscribe, share, and donate to support this channel. You all have a nice day. I'm out. Peace.